Today I'm going to show you how you can insert an information from a Bootstrap form to MySQL database using PHP with Pdo extension. Pdo is simply a PHP data object. That is the new style that PHP programmers are using to access database. The main advantage there is that in Pdo connection, many functions in PHP are deprecated, but Pdo is the latest style of connecting to databases. So hereafter I'll be using Pdo classes in order to insert information. In this series, I just want to be as beginner as possible. I just want to be in the beginner's shoes so that you can be able to see how we insert some form data from HTML to PHP to MySQL in a basic form, so that when we come to Ajax, when we come to Code Igniter, when we come to strictly object-oriented programming in PHP, so that you are aware of what is actually taking place here. Many functions such as MySQL Connect, MySQL Select DB have been deprecated some years ago, but I've seen that there are some faults that use this style. But I want to simplify that for you and use the Pdo connection as simple as possible so that you can be able to do some database access with Pdo connection. So now, without wasting more time, let me try to begin. Here I have got a Linux operating system that is Kali Linux, basically for cybersecurity or information security in the field of penetration testing, even though I can be able to use it for enterprise. So what happens is that we need to start our LAMP or our XAMPP control panel on Linux operating system. So this is how you start the LAMP control panel. So now everything seems to be okay. So let's try to call localhost. This is our PHP myadmin, and I advise people to have a secure PHP myadmin, even though I didn't make that. But in some other tutorials, I can be able to show you guys how you can be able to provide a password for your database and for your FTP server. Because as you can see right here, FTP service is on. If you can FTP localhost, then you can be able to access maybe a daemon password. Maybe it's my password that I've set. So now that I am here, then you can be able to access some information right here. But this is not where we are going. What happens is that, let me shut this terminal out, and I want to show you some few things that you have to be aware if you are a new Linux user and a new PHP programmer. And what we are going to do is that this directory, as you know that on Windows you can go to C XAMPP htdocs and then put your website in that directory. In Linux, things are somehow different. So what you do is that you come to opt and then lamp, and then from there, and then we need to get to htdocs. Then this is where your websites look safe here. So you can save your websites here. Let me create a new folder called tutorial 1. So this tutorial 1, because it has got nothing, let me localhost, then tutorial 1. So there is nothing here, and what I'm going to do is that I'm going to open my IDE here, that is Visual Studio Code. So there you go. And then we have this Visual Studio Code. Let it open, and while still opening, let's have let's open the new folder. That is our folder, that is tutorial 1. So on a tutorial 1, we will be putting all our folders and files there. So what has to happen is that we need to have an index.php. That is the file that will submit the data to a PHP script that will lead us to database. I will try to be as beginner as possible, as I said. So this is why I'm going to implement multiple files, so that people who don't actually understand the logic of these programs, they can be able to get what is actually cooking here. So now, in the following tutorials in the PHP series that I'm going to make, I just want them to be able to use the classes, the PDO classes, in order to connect to MySQL database and then insert some information on data manipulation using the classes in PHP until we reach to MVC, that is Code Igniter Framework. So now what happens here is that we must have our HTML here, but let me try to delete the whole information here. And now I want to copy a Bootstrap file that I downloaded to the directory that I want. So now it's already in my downloads. I will show you where you can download Bootstrap, or if you can use it, but because I am now offline, so I have downloaded it so that I can be able to use it. Now we have got, let's open this in a new tab and then see Bootstrap. So this is our Bootstrap version 4. For this reason, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy it right in my tutorial folder, in my tutorial 1 folder. Paste right here. So I want to rename this to Bootstrap, not this long name. Now we've got Bootstrap. Inside here there are CSS and JS files. Inside here we've got a lot of CSS files and then a lot of JavaScript files, but because of the fact that our main target here is to submit the data to database, so let's try to see. So this is our folder and our file. Now what we're going to do here is that because we are using Bootstrap, I've installed a Bootstrap extension here. So what we're going to do is that, let me on just pressing enter, then I get this code snippet, and so I will just delete the directory here and then CSS, that is Bootstrap, then CSS, and then from here we can delete the whole information here, because this one works basically for CDN. If you are on the internet, then you can call that Bootstrap file on their servers. So what happens is that then we have got our body. Let's put our title here. We've got a title that is our my tutorial on forms. All right, so this is what happens here, my tutorial on forms. So let's dive to where we need. So what happens is that we shall implement a div of a class container, class container. Or maybe we can put a Bootstrap menu here, but because of the fact that we need to be more faster, let's put Bootstrap for nav. So we need a Bootstrap nav bar. Let me check some of the code snippet here. So let's check this one. So this is our code snippet here. So this is the actual thing that we talk about. So we've got a quick nav bar here, and then because of that, then we can have a div of a class container. We can have a div of a class container so that it can contain the form that we want. So let's put a div, maybe class container. Then close this div tag here. So this is where we will put our form, our HTML form. Now what we're going to do is that let's open a form tag here. Form. Then we've got a form that has to be closed here. Now what happens is that inside the form tag we are going to have Bootstrap form, because we Bootstrap form. Bootstrap form. So let's check this one whether it will work for us, and then see what we get. So this is the text box that we are going to get here. So from here, what we're going to do is that label, it's label for username, then your name, and maybe on the help text here something like enter your name. And then from here, what we are going to do is to copy this code, because I'm lazy to write a lot of HTML tags, so that you can be able to see. Maybe 3 ones are correct to be used. So let's put an email here, and label for email, and then your email. Maybe here it's your village. So this is the label for your village. And then because of that, so here we are going to enter our village. So because we are going to use the data inside this attribute, we will have to input it as username, and here as an email, and here as a village. Remember, we are going to use this data inside this attribute basically when it comes to PHP and MySQL. So let's check what we are going to get here. So this is what we are getting. This is our beautiful Bootstrap form, because if we didn't include any Bootstrap here, the form was going to look somehow ugly. So because of that, let's input our button here, because we need a very good Bootstrap button. So I want to put it inside the div class of form group, so that it can be aligned in a way that all these text boxes are aligned. So what I'm going to do is that input type, I'm going to use the type of submit. Even though Bootstrap has got some more options, I can even delete the name and ID, but I don't have a problem. But here I'm going to change this class as button, and then button primary. So if this button looks like this, then let's check value. The value attribute here has to be employed. Value as register here, something like this. So this is the button that we've been talking about. So this form is not actually active. What we're going to do now is that we are going to make sure that we validate this form using HTML5. We can be using JavaScript or jQuery. We can be using HTML5, or we can validate this on PHP. But basically, I want to show beginners how to validate a form on HTML5. So what happens is that what you have to type right here is just required. So this is what we mean required. So this form now, what is going to happen is that when you press this button, then it is going to type that this information right here is required. So this is an email. So what is going to happen is that, because now we have set input type text, so let's check what is going to happen here. On an email, it is required, but it's not an email. So let's wait and then see what is going to happen here. So this one too is still required. So this information is all required. So let's do something. On an HTML form, what we are going to do is that we are going to give this form an action, so that when you press a button, it can navigate you to a PHP form that will, not a PHP form in actual fact, but it will transfer you to the PHP script that will query database for you. So when you press a button, what has to happen? We need this information to be processed inside a process.php. So process.php is not actually existing. So we need to give it a method that is post. We want this data to be posted into a PHP script that will lead us to MySQL database. So let's wait a while and see. So now we have got a information at username, then at email, at village. So now this is not found, but I know you have not seen something sometimes. We need to validate an email so that it looks exactly like an email address, because if you have seen, this information does not have an at something dot some domain extension here. So what we have to do is that when you do this, it acts without validation. So we need to validate this on HTML5. So in the next tutorials, I can be able to show you how you can validate using some JavaScript or JavaScript plugins like jQuery libraries and many more in PHP, you can be able to validate. But basically what you are going to do is we are going to validate using HTML5. That is, we are going to put it as an email here. So this is what is going to happen. So then we've got the information. Let's put it like this. Then this has to be an email. So from here, and then now you can be able to pass. There is no process or PHP. Now it's time for us to implement the information to database. But before that, I prefer us to implement a database in MySQL or MySQL, as some people call it. It's MySQL or MySQL, structured query language. So what is going to happen? Let's call our database tutorial 1. So we have got this database. There you go. Then there are no tables pretty. So suppose it's our students. Maybe we have got 3, and then let's go. So this is our username. Then we have got like an email, and then we have got the village. So all this information has to be varchar, and then varchar. Some names are too long, so let's cater for maybe 33, an email address, maybe 34, 35, or a village. It can be a lot of characters here. So maybe let's put 14. Or I don't have time for primary keys now because I'm not teaching relational databases, but it's a must now that you have to be familiar with the systems, because now on this tutorial I'm not teaching anything related to databases and relational databases or relational models. So now it's time for us to navigate to PHP. So what has to happen is that for us to be able to do that, we've got a form that is working. So what are we going to do? Like we said, as you've seen in database creation or table creation, we've put them like this. So what are we to do? PHP now. So let's implement a new file that will allow us to be able to connect to MySQL database. That is a db connector.php. A db connector.php shall be called in every page that connects to MySQL. That is, if I want to retrieve some database information or some data from MySQL, then I'll be able to use this script for that. But for now, I'm going to use this for insertion, because in the next tutorial I'm going to use this script too for getting some information from MySQL database. So what is going to happen is that let's open a PHP tags, PHP, and this is our PHP. So now, like we are saying, let's declare the DB host, that is the host name, which is our local host. Okay, sorry, PHP needs termination. That is DB name. Then we have our database name here. These server parameters shall be used when it comes to connection. So let's come to, that is tutorial 1. Okay, that is tutorial 1. So our DB user, that is root, that is our DB user, which is root, and our DB pass, that is empty because I did not put any password for root user. So what is going to happen now is that we need to use a try catch block, because this is some sort of an object-oriented programming in PHP. So we are going to use an exception handling when it comes to running the connection script. Now what is going to happen is that we will have like dbcon s equals to new PDO. So let me clarify here. What has to happen is that here we are declaring the server parameters so that we can be able to use them. Right? So here we try to initialize the connection. Then after initializing the connection, then we need to query the database. But this one will be done in the process.php. Now, because of this, what we are going to do is that here we are going to input the driver name, that is my SQL, alright, with host, that is the DB host, and we have DB name, that is database name. So we must have the DB name. Then outside here we have the DB user, DB user, and DB pass. There you go. Now we can have some more options here, but let me put the catch block. So here we need to catch the PDO exception. The PDO exception with a declared E. So this means if this code did not execute successfully, then it has to throw an exception here. So what is going to happen? We will echo dot get message. So that means it will get a message from PDO. So here this is what is going to happen. So let me show you what we can do. Here we can echo DB is connected or server connected. Yes, so if this statement is true, it has to echo that this is connected. So let's run the script and then see if ever it can be able to run. So that is db connector php. Now the server is connected, right? So because of this, we can comment this statement, and then I will show you some options that we can employ right here. That is dbcon dot set attribute. Here we are going to use some more information. For instance, if I want to output my data as an associative array, then I can be able to input that initially right here. If I don't want it, or during the query execution, I can put like Pdo then fetch a source. Then I want Pdo to show me some query errors right here. So let me say error mode exception. So this is what is going to happen. So now if there is an error, PHP has to show me, right? Now that there is no error there, so what is going to happen is that it's time for us to implement the script that will process the information and then insert that information for us inside MySQL database. So what we're going to do is that we've got a folder and 2 files right now, so we still don't have what process.php. So let's open a new file here, that is process.php. Remember that the process.php is there on the form action, right? Okay, so here is all right. Now what happens is that we are going to call the connection script. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so we shall include that is db connector dot php, and then from here what we're going to do is that here it's time for us to query the database. Now we will declare statement as let's check our db connection variable here, dbcon, this one. So we are going to utilize it right here, this dbcon dot dbcon prepare. The main purpose here is to make sure that we avoid SQL injection. But before we can even query here, I forgot to tell you that what we can do is we are going to insert the insertion query right here. But before that, it's good for a beginner to understand what is going on here. Remember that in MySQL Connect, we used to post some information as we told HTML that the method has to be posted. So we need to handle that information first before we can query the database. But what we're going to do is that we will have to username. This is our variable, that is it's post it's post username from HTML, right? So then we have email is post email. This information comes from the name selector, or from the name attribute in the HTML form. So we also have like a village, that is village. You can name them whatever you want. Village as post. Remember, you had some escape characters here. MySQL really escape string, so we don't use them right here. So what is going to happen is that we're going to post village, right? Okay, so let me comment here as handling the form data. So what has to be done here is that insert into what is our table name? Students, right? Into students. So we are going to put something here, values, right? Now this is username, and these ones, or the ones that are in the database. So username, email, and village inside here. So the values include these ones, that is username, then email without $sign. You can see that the $sign is now replaced with a colon. So I'm going to explain that in a while. So we have email, then we have like village, and then for this reason I have to bind this statement, bind, so that I can tell that this one is this one. So what happens is that I'm going to statement right, that is username as username, then same process again, right? Bind. Okay, then we have like email, then let's pass here as email. All right, okay, then we have a statement that bind. All right, okay, then village. Okay, okay, right, and then we have bind this information here. So what we're going to do is that we need to execute the query so that if ever there are some problems here, then we can be able to see. So what has to happen is that let's employ an if statement here. Maybe we can employ an if block here. If statement dot execute. If statement dot execute, then PHP has to echo successfully saved, or let me say data successfully saved, and else echo an error cat if there is an error here. So this is the problem. All right, so let's try to see whether this information shall be saved in the table that we have stated here, the students table. So what has to happen is that now let's put my name, so we have data successfully saved. That means we need to come here and then see this data has been successfully saved inside MySQL database, and we can input the other data here. So let's input like .com village Manibamaj. All right, okay, so let's check. Okay, right, thank you guys for watching this tutorial. The next tutorial that has to come is how we can be able to output this information from database to the browser using PHP, so that we can be able to see whether we can be able to view this information right on a PHP page. So thank you guys for watching, and God bless you. Thank you.